Let me ask you something. That secret spot you've been fishing for 10, maybe 15 years, when was the last time it produced a real giant? I mean, a true monster. Be honest. Today we're talking about why we get stuck fishing old, worn-out holes, and why the biggest fish you'll ever catch are almost certainly hiding somewhere you've never even made a cast. We're going to uncover the invisible force that kills a good spot and turns it into a private nursery for small, uneducated fish. By the end of this video, I promise you'll look at your local lake with completely new eyes. So here's a question to start us off. Do you believe a great fishing spot can be fished out forever? Let me know in the comments right now, because we are about to challenge that very idea. Look, we're all creatures of habit. It's human nature. We go back to that same underwater point or that familiar weed line because it's comfortable. We know it. More importantly, we remember that one glorious afternoon 5 years ago when we couldn't keep the fish off the hook. That one great day is burned into our memory, and it makes us forget the 50 other trips where we barely got a bite. This is the fisherman's trap. It's a habit often passed down through generations. My dad fished here, his dad fished here, so this must be the spot. But in today's world of intense fishing pressure and sophisticated electronics, that comfort is the very thing holding you back from catching the fish of a lifetime. It's time to understand why that comfortable old spot is actually your worst enemy. First, let's talk about the anatomy of a hot spot. What makes a fishing spot great in the first place? It's usually a combination of 3 things: structure, cover, and a reliable food source. Think of a long tapering point that drops into deep water. It's a natural highway for baitfish and a perfect ambush location for predators. Or maybe it's a massive submerged log providing cover from the sun and a place to hide. These prime locations are fish magnets. They attract fish for very specific biological reasons. When you first discover a place like this, it feels like you've found gold. The fish are there, they're often aggressive, and they haven't been bothered. This is the golden age of a fishing spot, the time we all dream about. But this is just the beginning of the story, and like all good things, it doesn't last forever. That initial perfection is what sets the stage for its eventual decline. Now let's introduce the first wave of pressure. It starts with you. You find this incredible spot and you have a few banner days. Maybe you tell a close friend, he tells his friend. Before you know it, a couple of other boats start showing up. What happens next is critical. The most aggressive and often the largest fish in that school are the first ones to get caught. They are the bold ones, the ones that strike first and ask questions later. After a few weekends of consistent fishing, these easy targets are removed from the local population. They are either in someone's freezer or have been released with a sore mouth, making them much wiser. This initial pressure skims the cream off the top, changing the entire dynamic of the spot. The place is still good, but the dumbest, easiest to catch residents are now gone. The game has already started to change. This leads us to a crucial concept. Educated fish are smart fish. A fish's brain might be the size of a pea, but it's incredibly effective at one thing: survival. When a fish gets hooked and released, it learns. When it sees the same chartreuse crankbait whiz by its face 10 times in an hour, it learns. When it hears the specific hum of your trolling motor every Saturday morning, it learns. The older and bigger a fish gets, the more lessons it has accumulated. These trophy-class fish, the survivors, become masters of avoiding danger. They associate specific sounds, vibrations, and lure actions with a negative experience. Your old, faithful spot has become a classroom for them, and they are graduating with honors in lure avoidance. You are no longer dealing with naive fish. You are fishing for veterans of angling warfare. Let's paint a picture of this in a real-life scenario. Imagine you find a perfect underwater rock pile on your sonar, a place nobody seems to know about. The first year, it's a dream. Every time you go, you pull several bass over 4 pounds off it. You feel like a fishing genius. You've cracked the code. The spot is your secret weapon, the one you save for when you really need to catch fish. You might even take a picture of a lunker you catch there and post it online, maybe not giving the exact location, but people who know the lake start to figure it out. The initial magic is pure, an unfiltered connection between you and a population of unpressured, aggressive fish. This is the peak. This is the memory that will keep you coming back for years, even long after the magic is gone. Now let's fast forward to the second year of pressure on that same rock pile. The word is out. Maybe someone saw you there. Maybe they scanned the area after seeing your photo. Now when you pull up, there's another boat already sitting on it. The bite is noticeably tougher. You have to downsize your line, use more finesse presentations. Instead of catching 4-pounders, you're mostly catching 2-pounders, with maybe one decent one if you're lucky. You tell yourself it's just a bad day, or maybe the weather is wrong. You're still catching fish, so you convince yourself the spot is still good. But what's really happening is that the spot is in decline. The remaining resident fish are wary, and the bigger ones have started to change their habits entirely to avoid the constant harassment. This brings us to what I call the shrinking fish phenomenon. It's a classic sign of a highly pressured spot. Over time, the average size of the fish you catch from that location steadily decreases. Why does this happen? It's a two-part problem. First, as we mentioned, the larger, more aggressive fish were the first ones to be caught and removed. Second, and this is the key, the remaining big fish have either moved away or they've become almost completely nocturnal. They learn that during the day this rock pile is a place of danger, so they retreat to deeper, safer water nearby or bury themselves in the thickest cover available. They only move up to feed under the safety of darkness when the boat traffic is gone. The only fish left willing to bite during the day are the smaller, younger, and dumber ones. So where do the big fish actually go? This is the million-dollar question. They don't just vanish from the lake, they relocate. A big old fish is a master of energy conservation and risk management. It will abandon a prime feeding area if the risk of being caught becomes too high. They seek refuge. They look for spots that offer similar benefits, cover, access to food, but without the constant boat traffic and rain of lures. This refuge might be surprisingly close to the old spot. It could be a small secondary point just 50 yards away that everyone else ignores. It could be a boring-looking patch of weeds or a subtle drop-off on an otherwise unremarkable shoreline. They are looking for peace and quiet, and they are willing to trade an easy meal for a safe place to live. This is where we must embrace the allure of the fresh hole. Let's define what a fresh hole really is. It isn't some mythical, undiscovered paradise that no human has ever seen. On most busy lakes, those don't exist. A fresh hole is simply an area that receives significantly less fishing pressure. It's a spot that most anglers overlook. It might not look as good on the map, and it might not have the classic textbook features of a hotspot, but its unattractiveness to other anglers is its greatest asset. The fish that live there are uneducated. They are relaxed. They haven't been trained to fear the sound of a trolling motor or the splash of a lure. Finding these places is the true key to unlocking consistent success with trophy-sized fish. You have to understand that big fish crave security above all else. A 5-pound bass or a 10-pound walleye did not reach that size by being reckless. Every day of its life it has evaded predators, birds from above, bigger fish from below, and, of course, legions of fishermen. Its entire existence is built around a finely tuned sense of danger. It will always prioritize a secure location over an easy meal. If the best feeding shelf on the lake has boats on it from sunup to sundown, the biggest fish will not be there during peak hours. It will choose a less ideal but much safer location to spend its day. When you start thinking about security from the fish's point of view, your entire approach to the lake will begin to change. To do this, you need to think like a survivor, not just a hunter. That trophy fish is the ultimate survivor. It's the one that didn't fall for the flashy lure as a juvenile. It's the one that spooked when a boat shadow passed overhead. It's the one that felt the vibration of heavy footsteps on the bank and slipped away into deep water. This fish has a PhD in survival. It didn't get big by being stupid or unlucky. It got big by being cautious and smarter than its competition. So when you're on the water, you have to stop thinking like the 99% of fishermen who are just looking for obvious spots. You have to start thinking like that 1% of fish that has managed to outsmart all of them. Here is the fundamental mental shift you need to make. Stop asking your buddies, where are the fish? And start asking yourself, where are the fish that nobody else is bothering? This single question will change everything. Instead of running to the most popular community hole on the lake, you'll start looking at the gaps in between. You'll look at the boring shorelines, the overlooked pockets, the subtle pieces of structure that don't scream "fish here" to every boat that drives by. Your goal is no longer to find the fish. Your new goal is to find the quiet water, because in the quiet water you will find the unpressured, and often the biggest, fish. You can even see the evidence of a pressured spot without ever making a cast. Pull up to a popular point and look around. You might see the shoreline is worn down from people beaching their boats. Look in the shallow water and you might see snagged lures and tangled fishing line. On your sonar, the bottom might be littered with anchor drag marks. These are the physical scars of heavy fishing pressure. It's like a crime scene that tells you 1,000 anglers have been here before you. When you see these signs, it should be a red flag. It doesn't mean there are no fish here, but it absolutely means the fish that are here have seen it all. They are the most difficult fish in the lake to catch. So, what does a fresh spot look like? Often, it looks like nothing special at all. That's the whole point. It might be a single, isolated boulder on an otherwise flat bottom that you can only find with side imaging sonar. It might be a small transition line where sand turns to gravel, something most people would drive right over without a second thought. It could be the one deep boat slip at the back of a marina, or the shade under a floating swim platform that everyone ignores. These spots don't have giant neon signs on them. Their value is in their subtlety. They provide just enough cover or ambush potential for a big fish to feel secure, but not enough to attract an army of other anglers. Searching for these new spots is a high-risk, high-reward game. Let's be honest, it's not as easy as going to your old, reliable hole. You will have days where you spend hours searching and come up empty. You might get skunked. It takes patience and a willingness to fail. This is why most people don't do it. They want the guaranteed bite, even if it's just a small fish. But the payoff for your exploration is monumental. When you finally locate one of these unpressured havens, you're not just going to catch a fish. You have the potential to catch the fish of a lifetime. A fish that is relaxed, aggressive, and has possibly never seen an artificial lure before. That's the prize, and it is worth the effort. Let's break down the actual process of finding these spots. It starts at home before you even hook up the boat. Pull up a good satellite map or a navigational chart of your lake. Don't look for the obvious stuff first. Instead, look for the in-between places. Look for the secondary points, the small inside turns on a weed bed, the subtle creek channels that swing close to a bank. Look for areas that are physically difficult to get to, maybe requiring a long idle through a shallow bay. Mark 10 of these maybe spots on your map. Your goal is to build a list of potential fresh holes to investigate on your next trip out on the water. The search begins with curiosity and a good map. Once you're on the water, your electronics are your absolute best friend. But you need to use them differently. Stop using your fish finder just to look for fish arches. Instead, use it to find ignored structure. Turn your side imaging sensitivity up and start scanning those in-between areas you marked on your map. You are looking for the needle in the haystack, that one isolated stump, that tiny rock pile, that small patch of hard bottom that nobody else has taken the time to find. These are the high percentage spots for holding a big, solitary, unpressured fish. Mark every single one of them as a waypoint. Over time, you will build your own private map of fresh holds that nobody else knows about. There's an old saying in fishing that is truer today than ever before, the 90-10 rule. It states that 90% of the anglers fish only 10% of the water. Think about your local lake on a Saturday. Where is everyone? They are all piled up on the same well-known community holes. They are fishing memories. Your job, as an angler who wants to catch giants, is to force yourself to fish the other 90% of the lake. This requires discipline. It means driving right past that famous point, even if you see other guys catching fish and pushing into new territory. You have to break away from the pack and become an explorer. You have to have the confidence to fish where nobody else is. So here is a simple challenge for your very next fishing trip. I want you to dedicate the first 2 hours of your day to fishing only new water. Do not make a single cast in any of your old, reliable spots. Only fish the new waypoints you found on your map study. This will feel uncomfortable. Your brain will be telling you to go back to what you know. You have to resist that urge. This exercise is designed to break the habit. It forces you to explore and to trust the process. You might not catch anything in those 2 hours, but you will learn more about your lake than you have in the last 5 trips combined, and you just might stumble upon your new secret weapon. What happens when you finally connect with a fish in one of these fresh spots? The bite is completely different. It's not the tentative little tick you get from a wary, educated fish in a community hole. It's a bone-jarring, rod-ripping strike. It's an explosion of pure aggression. This is the reaction of a big fish that is the undisputed king of its territory, a fish that feels totally secure and hasn't seen a lure in weeks or even months. It attacks your bait with absolute commitment because it has no reason to be suspicious. This is the bite we are all searching for. It's a signal that you have successfully cracked the code, that you have found a truly unpressured fish. It's an unforgettable experience. And now we come to the final, and perhaps the most difficult piece of the puzzle: secrecy. Once you find a new, productive spot, the clock starts ticking. Every fish you pull from it educates the others. Every time another boat sees you fishing there, you are advertising its location. The best way to preserve a fresh hole is to treat it like a fragile resource. Don't hammer it every single trip. Don't take pictures with the background showing exactly where you are. And for the love of all that is holy, do not post it on social media. The very same fishing pressure that ruined your old spot will ruin this new one. The greatest angling skill after finding a new spot is knowing when to keep your mouth shut. So let's bring it all together. We've established that our comfortable, old fishing spots, the ones filled with memories, are often ecological traps. They've been worn down by pressure, leaving behind only the smallest and most cautious fish. The real giants, the true survivors, have moved to quieter, less obvious places to escape the constant harassment. The biggest mindset shift you can make is to stop hunting for fish and start hunting for solitude. You are not just fishing against the fish, you're fishing against the habits of every other angler on the lake. That is the aha moment, when you realize that the entire lake opens up with new possibilities. Thank you so much for watching. If this changed the way you think about finding fish, do me a favor and hit that like button, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss our next video. And now I have one last question for you. What's the one weird or boring-looking spot on your lake that you've always driven past but never fished? After watching this, maybe it's time to finally give it a try. Let me know what you think down in the comments.